Brief, and I'm Stephen Forte. The capability trap. Today, we'll talk about why the most powerful AI model ever shipped in a major cloud outage the same week, and what that collision means for every CEO running a company on AI. Let me set the stage. We are in a moment where AI is no longer a pilot project. It is not sitting in a sandbox. It is woven into how your teams close deals, write code, model financials, and answer customers. For YPO members running companies at scale, AI has crossed the line from interesting tool to load-bearing infrastructure. And when you cross that line, two things start to matter enormously: how capable the tool is and what happens when it disappears. Last week gave us a front row seat to both. So let's start with the capability side. OpenAI released GPT 5.4 on Thursday, March 5th. And this one deserves your attention, not because it is new, but because of what it can now do. Here is what changed. First, context window. GPT 5.4 can hold 1 million tokens in a single conversation. That is roughly 4 times the previous model. In practical terms, that means your AI can ingest an entire codebase, years of corporate email, or a full due diligence data room in one pass. No chunking, no workarounds, no losing the thread halfway through a document. For anyone who has tried to use AI for legal review or financial analysis and hit the wall where it forgets what it read 3 pages ago, that wall just moved very far away. Second, and this is where it gets strategic, GPT 5.4 is the first OpenAI model with native computer use. That means it can look at your screen, read what is there, click buttons, type into fields, and execute multi-step workflows the way a human operator would. Not through an API integration, not through a plugin. It literally operates your software. It scored higher than human performance on desktop navigation benchmarks. If you run a company that relies on robotic process automation, the UiPath, automation anywhere, ServiceNow stack, this is a direct threat. OpenAI just shipped that capability as a default feature of their AI model. That is roughly $200 billion in combined market cap that woke up to a new competitor last week. Third, financial data. OpenAI announced integrations with FactSet, MSCI, ThirdBridge, and Moody's, and shipped ChatGPT for Excel and Google Sheets in beta. On an investment banking spreadsheet benchmark, GPT 5.4 scored 87.3%. The previous model scored 68.4. That is not an incremental improvement. That is a junior analyst being outperformed by software on the tasks that define junior analyst work. And fourth, efficiency. A new feature called Tool Search dynamically loads only the tool definitions a model needs at runtime, cutting token usage by 47%. Fewer tokens means lower cost per task. The model also produces 33% fewer false claims than its predecessor, so it is cheaper to run and more trustworthy. That is the rare combination that actually accelerates enterprise adoption. Now, why should a YPO member care? Because this is not about chatbots getting smarter. This is about the AI shifting from answering questions to executing objectives. GPT 5.4 can sit inside your finance team's spreadsheets, pull live market data, run scenario models, and do it with fewer errors than the humans doing it today. It can navigate your internal tools, fill out forms, move data between systems without anyone writing a custom integration. The productivity upside is enormous. But so is the governance question. When your AI can operate your software autonomously, who signs off? Who audits the output? Who is accountable when it executes a trade or sends a client report with a wrong number? If you are a CEO and your CTO has not briefed you on an AI governance framework in the last 90 days, that conversation is overdue. One more thing on the competitive dynamics. Microsoft had quietly added Anthropic's Claude to Copilot 365 after Claude outperformed OpenAI on spreadsheet tasks. GPT 5.4 is the counterpunch. Sam Altman is not just shipping a model, he is clawing back territory. For YPO members making platform bets, understand that the AI vendor landscape is moving at a pace where your procurement cycle is longer than the product cycle. That is a problem worth solving. Now let's talk about the other side of the coin, because the same week OpenAI shipped its most capable model ever. Anthropic's Claude fell over. On Monday, March 2nd, Claude suffered a major outage beginning around 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. It lasted between 5 and 10 hours depending on which service you were using. The failure started in the authentication system and cascaded. First, the web interface went down, then Claude code, then the API endpoints, then individual models like Opus 4.6 and Haiku 4.5 started failing one by one. If you had built workflows on Claude, code generation, document drafting, automation pipelines, CI/CD systems, you were dead in the water. And here is what made it worse. Some teams with direct API access thought they were safe. They were not. The outage rolled through like a slow-moving wave, catching people who assumed their setup was resilient. Anthropic communicated quickly but was initially light on root cause detail, which is exactly the kind of thing that erodes trust with enterprise buyers. Let me put a number on this. A 25-person engineering team billing at $120 an hour loses over $12,000 in a 4-hour disruption. That is just direct labor cost. It does not count the downstream delays, the missed deadlines, the customer-facing commitments that slip. Multiply that across every team in your organization that touches Claude, and the cost of a single bad morning gets very real, very fast. Now, why did this happen? The honest answer is what I would call the success tax. Claude has grown enormously popular. Anthropic has been winning enterprise deals, expanding its user base and pushing into new markets. But popularity is an infrastructure problem. More users means more load, more authentication requests, more edge cases, and when you grow faster than your infrastructure matures, you get March 2nd. This is not unique to Anthropic. Every major AI provider has had outages, but the timing is instructive. The same week your AI vendor goes down for half a business day, their biggest competitor ships a model that makes your vendor look replaceable. That is the competitive dynamic that should worry any CEO who has made a single vendor bet on AI. The data backs this up. 67% of organizations say they want to avoid high dependency on a single AI provider. 45% of enterprises say vendor lock-in has already prevented them from adopting better tools when they become available. If those numbers describe your company, the question is not whether to diversify. It is how fast you can. So here is the takeaway that ties these two stories together. GPT 5.4 shows us where AI is going. Models that do not just think but act, executing your workflows with better than human accuracy. That capability is extraordinary, but Claude's outage shows us the price of embedding that capability without resilience around it. The more powerful AI becomes, the more dependent you become, and the more catastrophic a failure gets. AI connectivity is becoming as mission-critical as internet connectivity. You used to be able to work on a cross-country flight without Wi-Fi. Now you cannot. AI dependency is heading the same direction, which means you need the same kind of redundancy thinking. So here is the AI resilience playbook, not theory, but what sophisticated operators are building right now. First, build a model-agnostic abstraction layer. Do not just say, we use multiple vendors. Deploy middleware that routes between your applications and any model. Portkey supports over 1,600 models with automatic failover and cost-based routing. Your AI traffic controller. OpenRouter gives you a unified API across 400-plus models from 60-plus providers. Latelm is open source. Deploy via Docker or Kubernetes to keep traffic inside your network. Kong AI Gateway and Cloudflare AI Gateway extend infrastructure you may already run. Companies that build this layer now will swap models, add fallbacks, and optimize costs without changing application code. The ones that do not will be locked in. Second, keep your intelligence outside the model. This is my personal strategy. I store project context and institutional knowledge in an external knowledge base. I use Notion, but the principle applies to any system you control. Think of what Claude calls projects or Microsoft calls notebooks. If your model goes down or a better one appears or pricing changes, spin up a new model and feed it your knowledge base instantly. Your intelligence is portable, not trapped inside a vendor's context window. Treat your AI knowledge base the way you treat your data. It is your asset, not the vendor's. Third, run local open source models for routine tasks. Not everything needs the cloud. Document classification, internal search, summarization. These run fine on models like Llama, Mistral, or Qwen. Lower cost, better latency, sensitive data stays on premise. And here is where the router ties it together. Your middleware sends complex reasoning to GPT 5.4 or Claude and routes simpler tasks locally. Cloud for heavy lifting, local for routine work, and a router in between. And fourth, demand SLAs and put governance in place now, not after the first autonomous AI action goes sideways. If your vendor cannot commit to uptime guarantees with penalties, they are not enterprise ready. The companies in YPO that build this resilience playbook will not just survive the capability trap, they will use it as a moat. That's the YPO Tech Network AI Brief for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. I'm Stephen Forte. If this hit home, send it to a fellow member who needs to hear it. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, stay sharp.